Joined by our buddy Jonathan Casillas, former Giant, and he lets it rip pre and post every week, part of the Giants broadcast team. And Jonathan, the Giants got absolutely rolled. We went through this, of course. You know this. How long would you wait before pulling the plug on Daniel Jones?
Well, I think you got to give him at least one more game, and so be it. The Commanders, where Daniel Jones has actually had pretty good games against throughout his career. So this is like, I would say a couple of games in, if you asked me before the season, the same question. But now it's like after the performance in week one, if he doesn't play well in the Commanders game, it's like, all right, what are we doing here?
Well, I disagree. I mean, what you're doing is you're playing the guy who you gave a ton of money to. Now, listen, he's not perfect. We all know that. I don't think option number one behind him, Locke, is the real answer. I don't think it's DeVito, with all due respect, even though he's from here and I'm rooting for him. I don't think he's that guy. I mean, I think that Daniel Jones has earned the right to at least shed the rust and learn how to trust his knee and get used to some new weapons before. Because, Jonathan, once you bench him, he's banished for good, man. That's it.
I agree with you. But this is my thing, right? You look at the first four games. You look at the schedule in quarters, right? And now it's the extra game at the end, which I love because it ends up being some incredible matchups in that last week, to slate the whole playoffs. And I love the whole thing. But quarters is, you break the season up to quarters. It's the first quarter. And you look at the first quarter, you look at the first two games, you're like, okay, those are very winnable games. Nobody knew Deshaun Watson wasn't going to be him anymore, so that game is looking more like a winnable game. But then the Cowboys, they're rolling, as they do every season. At the beginning of the season, they're rolling. And if you have poor quarterback play the first 3 weeks and you manage to go 0-3, when the Giants come back at home on Thursday Night Football, they will boo him as soon as he gets in the game. They're not going to wait for him to throw a bad pass. So that's the only thing I'm thinking about in terms of when the Giants play back home after the next 2 weeks they're away. Like, what is that reception going to be? You know what I mean? Our fans here. Like, I was at the stadium. It was amazing. Oh, my gosh. The pregame was amazing. The ceremony was amazing. The Giants did but the product on the field did not match up.
Yeah, but it wasn't just Daniel Jones. It wasn't just Jones. Now, I know you could bench one quarterback, and it's tougher to bench 10 other guys. But I fundamentally disagree with what you're saying here. If you run the operation based on what you think the fans are going to do, what are you doing?
No. I'm just saying, like, that's just how it's going to be, like, received. And it's like, if it's like that, I'm telling you, it's not always about the fans. It's about the temperature. It's about feeling how it is, right? Everybody's okay with allowing some mistakes in week one. So that's why there's not too many people out there saying you need to get rid of him week one. Because if you put that performance, what he did, and not even the numbers, I'm not looking at the numbers. I'm talking about how he looked. He didn't look like he was ready. And that's a very scary situation because I've seen Daniel Jones in the past play poorly, but he never played like that. It was a different thing that I've never seen before. Easy passes thrown in the dirt, behind, timing was off. And it was like, I'm used to kind of some decision-making that was questionable.
Yep.
But the ball placement, which was like, it was absolutely horrendous. And then you expect drops, but not that many drops. You expect penalties, but not that many penalties. Like the Giants kind of like, it's like they make it worse. It's like, we expect a couple mistakes, but not every drive. Like every drive on offense, they made multiple mistakes, penalties, drops. It was very hard to watch. Yes, you can't blame it all on Daniel Jones, but you know what? When things are rough for other teams and nobody can play right, the ball, fumbles are happening, nobody can hold on to the ball, the quarterback gets them settled, he makes the plays to get them down the field and get some points on the board. Daniel Jones was only able to do that twice with 2 field goals, and both of them were short fields.
Yeah, Daniel Jones looked awful, and I'm not looking to bench him. I'm not even talking about long-term, Jonathan. I feel like I know what Daniel Jones is. I'm curious, though, and now we know what you think. Obviously, we know what BT's think. What do you think Brian Daboll will do if, now this is a hypothetical, of course, but let's just say that Daniel Jones in the first half in Washington on Sunday looks like he did week one. Do you think, at least in the short term, Daboll will yank Jones from that game to try to create a spark or go with Drew Lock and see what he could provide if Jones is struggling the way that he did in week one?
I got a feeling, guys, that he going to let it ride. I think Daboll going to let it ride no matter what it looked like. and it could get real nasty. I think you're going to let it ride. Look, and I'm just trying to put myself in Daboll's shoes, not as me, but as him, because he's a different type of personality. You can see how he handled the media this week. I love how he talks to the media because, like, it's comical. Like he gets asked about Daniel Jones specifically, and he puts it on a team, which I love. But then you ask him about Jaden Daniels, and he has, like, the most intricate, detailed explanation on his skill set. And it's amazing to see. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't know how long everybody's going to get away with all of the things that we're doing here in New York. You know what I mean? Like, I've been around. I was around as a young kid. With Kerry Collins and before Tom Coughlin got there, and Fossil was here, and it was like the Giants coaches were always on the hot seat, even the years that they won Super Bowls. So it's not like that's out of the norm. You know what I mean? Like, this is not like strange territory. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's interesting to see what happens next, because now it's a chess move in terms of, are you winning games? Do you have the right quarterback? What do you say to the media? Do you actually believe in him? Like, those are all questions that I'm sure that everybody's asking, and even Daboll is probably asking himself too. So it's a funny situation. And, like, guys, I told you I had to take my emotions out of it, expectations all the way down. And I'm not sad this week. I'm just very entertained about what's going on. And I was, like, a little nervous about this conversation because I was like, I don't want to say anything crazy and get myself fired. Because we all saw what we saw.
Yeah.
We all saw that. It's like, all right, so let me just be careful.
Well, they did it. It's not your fault. It's not our fault. Yeah. They did it. I mean, they're the ones who went out there and laid the egg. I mean, you weren't playing. Now, here's what I would ask you, though, Jonathan, before we move on to maybe Washington and what they have in store here for week 2. We watch this offense. I do believe in Brian Daboll as being a good head coach. We saw him have success even with Daniel Jones as a quarterback. They bring in Malik Neighbors. Whose fault is it? And I'm not looking to rail on somebody here, but is this on Daboll? Is it all on Jones? We were told the offensive line was better. We know about the weapons that they have, and they still cannot move the football at a level that you would expect an NFL team to do that. Does Daboll need to take more of a hit? Is this just on quarterback play? What do you think is the main reason for the Giants' offensive struggles consistently?
Well, guys, it's clear, it's blatant. It's the quarterback play. It's the play at quarterback, right? Look, Daniel Jones, I think he earned his contract because it's all about timing in the NFL with contract. That's why Dak just got that big deal. You couldn't not give him the deal because he's been stacking up years and years of really just like really good seasons, just very good passing yards, not that many interceptions. Well, he had 1 year of high interceptions where he had led the league. But touchdowns was there. Offense was always prolific, top 10 every single year, and he had to get paid that much money. Daniel Jones won the first playoff game in 10 years for the Giants, and the timing was right. He got passed up on for the 5th-year option, and the timing was right. But now it's like, all right, what do we do now? Because he can't continue to play like that because the Giants will not win a game, guys. Like what they did on last week, what they did that whole game, not even the first half, what they did because the complimentary football wasn't there, mind you. They signed Gunnar Olszewski. They made sure they had a good punt returner. He gets hurt pregame. They put Slayton in because he's a reliable guy, but it ended up being like the last few years where you fumble on special teams. And now defense, we expecting a lot from the defense, like we all are. Bro, I was at the ceremony. I watched it from the press box. It was magnificent. You know who they did last? The linebackers. You know why? Because defense is everything in New York. It's everything. And the defense, I wouldn't say they didn't show up, but they didn't play the dominant ball that they need to play with the struggling offense. And they're capable of doing it. Yeah. But we didn't see the guys that we've seen play at high levels at times. We didn't see them play like that last week. That was the most frustrating part for me.
Now, Kayvon didn't show up. And Kayvon, I got to be honest with you, we really spent a lot of time on this because they played so poorly. His post-game reaction, I'm not trying to pick on him, but he was asked a very good question, and he dismissed it and scoffed at the reporter. Dude, this is year 3. You're good, not great. You're one-dimensional. I thought that was out of bounds for a young kid still trying to earn some stripes. What was your opinion on that?
I laughed because I'm right there. So in the press box, I'm getting all of those interviews in the middle of us talking. So we're actually bringing in the interviews and reacting to right after the comments. And I'm just like, yo, it's like these guys. I think it was Jordan Renan that asked that question, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was.
He was like, anybody else, and he dismissed them. And then even Dexter. Like, listen, the guys are frustrated, and they're frustrated in week 1.
After one game?
Yes, of course. That's what you're hearing.
I mean, how fragile are they?
No, I don't think it's fragile. I just think that the guys love the game so much and they want to win, and it just looks like winning is not that. I want to say easy because they know it's not easy, but it's like it's a lot more difficult than they thought. And I don't know if they're saying like it's because of one person, like everybody else is, but they might be feeling that, and that's a bad feeling to have. That's a really bad feeling to have.
I'm going to give Kayvon Thibodeau the benefit of the doubt for what he said. I don't care what he said in the postgame, if it's sensitive, if it's not, if he had an issue with the question. What I care about is him showing up on game day, and he didn't do enough of that, clearly, on Sunday, week 1. He's going to have to do that week 2, and not just him, obviously everybody else, but I do believe in Brian Burns. I think he's a beast. Even in that game, you could see that he's a beast. He just got, look, I mean, the Vikings offensive line handle the Giants. Can they, Jonathan, handle what I believe to be a team? I watched some highlights of Washington and Tampa Bay. I know they got squashed by Tampa, but Washington can move the football. Daniels is a dual threat. Robinson's a good back. Eckler, they have some receivers with McLaurin. Yep. If they
Zach Ertz is there.
In your opinion, Jonathan, as a defensive guy, can the Giants be able to put pressure on Daniels and also prevent Daniels from getting outside the pocket and breaking big runs on them? Because I think this game's going to come down to defense for the Giants.
Yeah, it must come. Every game for the Giants is going to come down to the defense until Daniel Jones figures out how to play quarterback again. Like that's the bottom line. Because look, they got rid of a generational running back. I'm sorry to say it. He proved it on Friday night in Brazil. To all the fans that didn't know who Saquon Barkley was in South America, you're welcome, because he looked phenomenal. You know, and it's like you move on from him and you go with Daniel Jones. And I was all for it, guys. You know I was all for it. But I'm like, the proof has to be in the pudding. And let's see what he does. 2023 was abysmal. And now the first game of the 2024 season, we're all trying to just figure out who Daniel Jones really is, and he's proven something different. So, like, as of right now, if he doesn't improve his play, the defense has to be dominant, or the Giants won't survive. They won't. Like, guys, it was so uncompetitive. The stands were empty at the end of the third. It was hard. It was hard again. And we were talking about how hard it was last year. It was like it was last year, and they were booing early. I don't think they ever booed that early last year. Maybe the Dallas game. I don't know. But it was really hard to be a part of. And I think, look, the defense was the one that made the plays early in the game to get the crowd louder than I've heard them in years. And I was so excited, and then it quickly dudded out because of a sputtering offense that can't move the ball, that can't hit receivers. The ball's on the ground. They're getting penalties. They're getting holding calls. It's like almost the same old. And look, the defense has to play at a high level, and they have the guys to do it. But the first thing I said after the game, guys, I said Kayvon didn't have a stat.
No.
That's the first thing I said.
Well, he had one
stat.
He had one.
He had a pressure, I think,
he had
right?
a stat.
Pressure?
He had a stat. He had one flare-up in the post-game scrum.
And he had a penalty too.
I know.
And look. I've been a part of penalties. Some of them, are like bang bang plays. But when you don't do too much in the game and you have a penalty, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, all right, how do I get on the stat board? How do I make an impact on this game and not negatively? And that's just man to man, like looking at yourself. That's something you have to do. I played this game long enough to understand that everybody has good games, bad games. But when you're playing on the defense or the offense that's struggling, you literally can't afford to do that. Like, it's very costly to do that.
So it's Jonathan Casillas, of course, former Giant, couple of years here, broadcast team, pre and post, show every Tuesday with us here, BT and Sal on the Fan. This is the last thing for me, and I didn't even, just the way you describe things, I didn't even think I was going to go here, but I have to. The way I hear you talk, the way I hear what LT said, Phil, Carl Banks, it's one thing. Sometimes, you could be apathetic toward a situation. Sometimes you could just be angry. What I'm hearing from all these Giants legends, you're saying it today, it's almost like sadness. You're embarrassed of where the Giants are. Is that a misrepresentation? It sounds that way.
It's rough, guys. it's rough. You know, I'm a people person, and I know a lot of people, you know, not just Giants people, you know, and being in this region, Philadelphia fans and Dallas fans are all over the place. I feel like they're pitying me right now.
Oh boy.
I don't like that feeling. You know what I mean? But like I said, I turned my emotions down. I cut my expectations all the way off. And now I'm just sitting here trying to analyze. And like I said, it's entertaining to me to see the post-game interviews. It was like, because I've been there before. Like, I know that feeling. I wouldn't say what he said, but I know that feeling. You know what I mean? And now I'm in a funny position because I'm not too far removed from the players. You know, like I was a player not too long ago. I was doing interviews like that not too long ago. But this was the most discouraging thing, guys. When the defense made a stop late in the game, they just kind of walked up the field with their heads down. And I was like, oh, this is really bad. And I said that in the postgame. I'm not, you know, saying anything new. I said that in the postgame because somebody asked about what do you do on film. And it's like, it's not even about the film. It's not about the film. It's the stuff that film does not get. The film doesn't get you walking between the huddles. It doesn't get that. It only gets the play.
Yeah. I
saw some stuff between the huddles that were very alarming. It's not good. And it can change because it's early. But
well, how's that not on the coach?
Well,
I mean,
I think it is. He doesn't have to say it,
let's talk about it.
Well,
I don't know what's going on in between the huddles. I mean, but if they're not focused, I mean, it's week one. What kind of camp did you run? How is this team not ready to play?
Yeah, listen, it's on the coach, but it's on every single player in that locker room. It is. It has to be. Bro, this is a talented roster in terms of players here and there, right? You have some stars, some studs. Did you see what Dexter Lawrence did in the game?
Yeah, he was a beast.
He's the man. He's awesome.
Did he not show that he's probably the best defensive player in the league?
He's a beast.
Oh, my gosh. Like, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, we're about to kill these guys. But then this is the thing. There are certain positions.
And then Daniel Jones sent that on the field. Yeah. Just kidding.
But listen, there's certain positions like defensive tackle where you can actually double team him and cause hell for him. Even with that, he still was splitting double teams, which is crazy. But like you can kind of do things that go away from him, which they did. They didn't try to go up the middle. They tried to run up the middle the first play of the game. That got stopped. And then he sacks your quarterback because your center or guard or anybody on the line cannot block him one-on-one. And then they start switching it up. So that's where Kayvon Thibodeau shows up. That's where Brian Burns shows up. That's where, Pinnock shows up. All of the guys that are playing and that are fitting into these run fits. Where are you guys at? Because Dexter Lawrence is taking up two. He's taking up two. So it's for me, it gets worse as game goes on if your defense doesn't believe that your team can win. If you think that your team can win, you will play beyond the fourth quarter. You will play till they say, all right, guys, you lost or you won. The game's over. All right. I'm not saying the guys quit, but the energy level matters. It matters. All right. Remember 2016? That was the pretty good year for the Giants. We went to the playoffs. The boat trip happened. Lost in Green Bay, blah, 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 blah. Picks, and he was fumbling the ball. And I love Eli like we all do. And I think he can win us games, so I never not believed in him. But when he would fumble, the defense used to get up and yell and run on the field. Maybe it was just me. I might have been the only one doing it. But I felt like other guys were doing it too. I felt like we got to match what this defense is doing. If the defense got 2 fumbles, we got to get 3. You know what I mean? Like, it was things that you have to do. And if you be like, oh, my God, again, like, literally, like, it'll just take the energy from the sidelines. And if you don't allow that to happen, and that's me being a player, that's why I cannot put it on the coach, because I did it personally. Like, I personally did that. So I'm not going to put it on the coach, because at the end of the day, he can't play it down. It's on the players. They have to do it. And I think they have a great locker room. I just feel like the pressure is on them right now, and they're not handling it correctly. And I'm going up with some of the things that they said in the media and just kind of how the body language was later in the game. And for me, that was the most discouraging thing. It wasn't about the X's and O's. It was about that.
You know, maybe
Not good.
the only thing that looked good on Sunday was your fit, Jonathan, as you rolled up to MetLife wearing the LT. I've never seen this before. Black Lawrence Taylor throwback jersey.
Drippy.
That's pretty, black. I've never seen a big blue jersey in black. I usually like the white myself. You get LT to sign that, Jonathan?
Nah, you know what? I'm so disappointed in myself that I didn't make more of an effort to be around the guys because I had to work, and I had to be upstairs the whole time, and I don't bounce around to like suites or anything like that. I'm locked into the game, and I'm like, man, and not even to get the jersey signed, just to be around greatness. Like at the end of the day, guys, let's be real about this. The Giants legends are absolutely top tier legends. Quarterback position, linebacker. I mean, JPP was there. He's honored, and they went crazy standing next to Justin Tuck, O.C. Amenyor, George Martin. Like, bro, these are like legends. Like, and it was so cool just to be in the stadium. And then the game came on, and then
reality happened.
That's what makes it more painful. The great history, 100-year anniversary. You get that slop week
Happy
one.
anniversary.
Oh, that was terrible.
Hey, Jonathan, great spot, man. Really great spot. Hopefully this thing turns fast. Otherwise, I think we could have a few more of these conversations, but hopefully not. Go take care of the Commanders. We'll get you back up next Tuesday. Thank you, brother.
all right, fellas, take it easy.
You got it.
He's the man, dude. I
I
love
love
Jonathan.
him. He fits in awesome.